आजकल हमारे मज़ाइल एक अबदाली मज़ाइल है, एक गौरी मज़ाइल है, और इसके साथ जो है ना एक उसके साथ गज़नवी मज़ाइल है। तो ये सब इनके नाम इसलिए रखे हैं ताकि इनको याद दिला दें कि हमने हिंदुस्तान पे 1000 साल हुकूमत की है।
While Indians have been fed on a daily diet of Aman Ki Asha, the cliches of Aman Ki Asha, I would say, what you just saw in the videos was just a very small collage of the hate India feelings in Pakistan post the Pahalgam attack. To discuss Pakistan and allied issues, we have with us Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, former GOC 15 Corps and member of NDMA. Welcome to Samvad, sir.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind,
sir. To all our viewers.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Bilawal Bhutto says कि या तो पानी बहेगा या उनका खून बहेगा. Unka obviously referring to India and Indians. We have seen in the Pakistani Senate rapidly communal sentiments being made, with the Pakistani Senator Palwasha Muhammad Zai Khan taking the cake. We have the statement with her, the video with us, but we desist from playing that video because it is too provocative, and the idea is to have a discussion and not to get into provocation and fall into the trap being laid by Pakistan. But we have seen that the Pakistani terrorists, when they come over to Pahalgam, they ask for religion and kill people. General Munir was not an aberration. He spoke of the two-nation theory, but we can see where he's coming from. The whole society seems to be infected with some sort of hate India virus. This has been going on since 1947, sir, and more so after 1971, when they use religious symbols and props so as to show they are fighting a jihad against India. My question to you, sir, is how does India deal with an enemy which is so irrational, which is so reckless?
Good question to start with, and may I compliment you first of all for the fact that our last discussion attracted 80,000 views, which is very good, and it seems that your channel, people are being very attracted to your channel, enjoying the discussions that we have. Having said that, yes, this issue of irrationality, I think Pakistan has perfected one thing. Being a smaller nation, being a weaker nation, they somehow seem to have voluntarily, on purpose, adopted a doctrine of irrationality, which leads them to initiate things, taking us, India, by surprise each time, but never being able to take that initiative of theirs to a grand finale. You must have seen this happening so many times. It happened, I mean, the most important of them is Kargil, where, they tried to cut off that road, Kargil-Leh road, with a view, with a terminal objective of having Siachen to be evacuated because India could not afford to bring about the logistics to support Siachen. You can't expect it to be more irrational view. A grand initiation, total surprise achieved. With February, the Lahore Yatra taking place, and at the same time, troops of the NLI clambering up to those heights, winter vacated posts of the Indian Army, and taking us by surprise. If you look at 1965, Operation Gibraltar was all about entirely contingent upon support of the local people. This is something which Pakistan has always been hovering upon, that we will go in and the people will support us, they will rise up against India in our favor, and that's how Kashmir will fall into our hands. I mean, how irrational can you be? So, one can carry on and on the number of examples on this, but I think this is strategically, these are sufficient for people to understand that this is a doctrine in the Pakistani strategy which they have decided to employ. The other thing is bringing in the element of hate. In India, I agree. In India also, there is an element of hate against Pakistan as such, but they take it to a completely different level. You see, it's one thing is to look at social media handles. People are less educated and perhaps not being able to express themselves, and they like to abuse and use that kind of a language. Similar thing on the Pakistani side. But imagine their senators, their legislators using this kind of a thing. And this is not something new. I have met many of them in track 2, and I find in track 2 too, they have that kind of an attitude. So this is something that we will have to live with. It's not something that we can get over with immediately. And generation to generation, this is being passed on. It's not as if it's coming to an end with the partition generation or the partition +1 generation or something. It is being passed on. The surprising thing is that the same people meeting abroad in different climes, in London or in New York, etc., are the best of friends. They sit together, share houses, share rooms, all kinds of things because of a common culture. Religion is secondary completely. It's only when you come back here, then that whole thing thrives again. Very, very unfortunate. I wish Pakistan, the leadership, could get over this, but I don't think it'll happen because they think that they can unite Pakistan through the use of this kind of a sentiment and emotion. Otherwise, you really look at it, there is no other rationale behind it. This is the only way. And they feel that they can get the better of India through using this kind of a logic. Yeah.
Sir, I agree that there is no option except living with it, so as to say. But my analysis is that this hate India feeling, the public expression, the volatile expression against India, it is being amplified over the time instead of getting receding and looking towards peace and prosperity. It is getting amplified on the Pakistan side to an extent that we cannot play the videos. It is getting to that extent. Would you agree with that?
You see, Mike, as I said earlier, to expect that they will get over this in the next generation or the next to next. Remember, it is the control of the army which is behind much of this. I won't say it's entirely the army's responsibility. After all, legislators are not soldiers. They are very much politicians. They are people, citizens of Pakistan from different walks of life, and they are all well-educated, well-heeled people. But despite that, they feel this is the only way that they will get support of their people. I think this is a sentiment of partition which they haven't been able to overcome. We have been able to overcome this. And why does it happen? Why have we been able to overcome it? Ultimately, prosperity, education. We have paid so much of attention to education. Our economy is doing well, so there's greater prosperity. And therefore, automatically, these issues start receding towards the background. I'm not saying we have overcome it completely. It's there very much in our setup also. But definitely, we are far, far better off.
So you spoke of two things. I'll take two questions from here. The first one about culture. Now, if Kashmir was the only item in the wish list of Pakistan, maybe it could have been understood that some unfinished agenda of partition, as they say. But they have deleted all their civilizational continuum with India. Their history starts from somewhere, God knows where, because sometimes they're Persian, sometimes they're Arab, sometimes there's this and that. So it seems that it is becoming more of a conflict of civilization and ideology. And Kashmir is just a mask to befool the world. Would you agree, sir?
I 100% on that. Kashmir is it is a symbolism, nothing else. It keeps the issues alive. And helps the Pakistan army in particular to retain its supremacy. It helps the deep state, not the Pakistan army alone, the deep state, to retain that supremacy which they have always sought. Otherwise, where will they get those bungalows all along the Islamabad or Rawalpindi Peshawar highway? Those so-called 90-acre bungalows that they are getting, each 3-star officer gets on retirement. This is how they the supremacy is what is the thing which they desire the most. And there are no other means otherwise. Kashmir is one major issue, and linked with it, to keep that thing going, bring in the whole issue of Islam into it. Their favorite slogan, Islam khatre mein hai. That is the favorite slogan of a Pakistani, Islam khatre mein hai. अगर cricket team हार रही है तो इस्लाम खतरे में है. That is the sentiment which they express. Many times that's the kind of sentiment which they express. Despite having some very well-educated people in the cricket team too, people like Imran Khan at one time, who today are in a completely different world.
Sir, even that Islam khatre mein hai, Islam, what we see, the Islam in Pakistan is very exclusive. I mean, the majority of the people, the Sunni Punjabis, I would say that they attack the Shias. They don't consider Ahmadis to be anything, Hazaras. So it is not as if Islam is taken as a whole. Even that has been bifurcated into the majority and the minority.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a very it's not a completely radicalized, but a largely radicalized. Me, myself, what I do is the only right thing. Within Islam also, only what I identify. A lot of people, as you very correctly said, Ahmadiyas, Shias are considered non-Muslims, right? And you know, they're considered to be heresy virtually to be a Shia. So this, you are absolutely right. The promotion of this ideological thing, it all started more with Ziaul Haq. Although it always existed in Pakistan, and let's admit it that it always existed in Pakistan, but to weaponize it, it was the responsibility of someone like Ziaul Haq, who used it essentially to galvanize a set of people to seek retribution against India for what had happened in 1971. And that has led this particular generation in this particular direction.
Speaking of the Pakistani army, we have seen reports that one of the terrorists in Pahalgam has been identified as a former SSG commando. Now, in the Indian army, we see officers going on deputation to SPG, NSG, the Rashtriya Rifles, and other forces. But in Pakistan, it seems that the deputation is with the Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba. That is their standard of deputation. So my question is that how does this affect the morale and the professional attitude of any army in the world where once these people come back, or even if they are serving the army and willing to serve on these deputations?
You see, first of all, to compare the Indian army with the Pakistan army in many ways is sacrilege, actually.
I agree, sir. I'm just an example, sir.
But we will do it. We will still do it. For a professional requirement, we will still do it. You see, when an army is a defeated army, smaller army, they speak a lot of bravado. They know in heart of hearts, even currently, I can tell you in heart of hearts, they know they're moving all their reserve formations into locations here and there, plugging holes to make sure that no Indian strike force suddenly reaches out to them in these places. This is the manner in which the Pakistan army usually responds whenever there's a crisis of this nature. So when an army of this kind, the psyche that they have is any and every means. And in fourth generation warfare, this is the legitimized thing where you use non-state actors, right? You use non-state actors, mix with non-state actors, exploit them as weapons, send them across, use them as proxies. Iran has used them so effectively in the Middle East. Similarly, Pakistan has been mastered at using proxies. They got all this experience in Afghanistan through the 80s, and then they switched the whole thing this side. Now, as far as this officer that you are talking about, one has heard about the leadership provided to these so-called 35 to 40 terrorists who have been on the Pir Panjal for the better part of the last 1.5 years or more, somewhere between Surankot and Doda, and maybe to an extent even shifted into the area of Kathua. To my mind, this group which came into Pahalgam was a detachment from this very group, and probably had the leadership or the backing, someone who was there guiding them throughout, of a high quality special services SSG kind of a special forces officer I mean, it is showing the stamp of that kind of a professional approach, the manner in which they have chosen this target. I mean, if you look at the entire Kashmir, I would have chosen 2 or 3 other places if I was a terrorist on the other side. I don't want to reveal that. I would have chosen 2, 3 other places. But Pahalgam would definitely be one of them. Right? Pahalgam would definitely be one of them. Knowing that which season of the year we are in, and about the launch of the Amarnath Yatra in the very near future. So obviously it's been done very, very professionally. And fourth generation warfare is something which Pakistan has used against us very adroitly, no doubt. But we have countered it also, although it's taken us a fairly long time, from 1989 till now. And I would still say that although the capability, Pakistan will retain that capability of having 100 terrorists operating here, some of them high quality, making strikes here and there. But for the better of it, 3,500 terrorists who existed here have been eliminated and neutralized. Most of the networks have been neutralized. This group is obviously functional on bandwagoning on a network. And I think the NIA is looking for this particular network that they are looking for at the moment, to see how they can sort of get rid of them. But without a network, it's not possible for it to function like this. A network on the Pir Panjal, on top of the Pir Panjal, is impossible. It is along the foothills of the Pir Panjal that somewhere along the thing, overground workers, etc., hideouts, places where there's water, food, and things of that nature are all available to them. That's the only way they can survive. As far as this ethos is concerned, the Indian Army special forces in particular are of a very high quality, very, very high quality, right? And in international SF competitions which have taken place, I mean, we have our SF teams have left people in the shades completely at that way. But where deceitful operations of this kind are concerned, small team operations, this is something that we have not adopted very often. Some RR units have done it extremely well. I'm aware of it. Some areas where they have wiped out complete terrorist groups in that area, they have managed to get terrorist groups to fight against the other terrorist groups and things like that. So there have been some very fine examples of this kind of fourth generation warfare soldiering, which has gone on our part too. But you are 100% right. We are not the type who will mix with terrorists and do it and that kind of a thing. Perhaps if the opportunity comes of a different kind, we may be also forced to do it. But at the moment, definitely not. I think the honor of the Indian Armed Forces still continues to maintain that.
Sir, I ask this question because I see, because any non-state actor, basically euphemism for terrorist, is basically, he has to be radicalized to a certain extent from the very beginning. So once a person of that sort gels in a unit, obviously the morale and the atmosphere of the whole unit changes. It has to change.
Yes,
so
yes, absolutely.
So professionally, obviously, it's going to get hurt.
Yeah, well, they consider that this is the passion which drives their fervor. Perhaps look at it from that angle, right? And I can tell you from my experience of some of the raids which have taken place on our posts sometimes. We have done many times across, also on the other side. But what I have seen on our side, there have been some very, very bad cases, very, very bad cases. The cases of mutilation and that kind. This is all started by them. It was never started by the Indian Army. It was all started by them.
Sir, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has now called up both the Prime Minister of Pakistan and External Affairs Minister of India, asking both the countries to de-escalate as expected. China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, all are now asking to de-escalate. So India, we have seen, is in a reactive stage. We react to what Pakistan does. So obviously, it takes time to prepare a response and then make a counter. So in such cases, when things start to are being forced to de-escalate, or people are getting into the picture asking to de-escalate, doesn't this give Pakistan an unfair advantage that they'll come do a hit job, and by the time India reacts, the world powers will pitch in? So is this not part of a strategy, or it just happens?
It's a definitely, I mean, they depend on this kind of a strategy. But having said that, the United States, Russia, or any of these countries have no locus standi today to ask India to stop what it is doing. Have you stopped Israel from doing what it did in Gaza? Has Russia itself looked even at a potential ceasefire in Ukraine? You are negotiating first. You're not even establishing a ceasefire. With which face are you telling India to stop? I mean, I think we are strong enough, and our government is strong enough to respond and tell them very politely, very, very politely, that it is our national interest that we are pursuing, nothing else. Every nation has the right to pursue its national interest. The United States thinks that its national interest is to arm Israel and make sure that Gaza is wiped out from the face of the earth. For Russia, it is all about Donbass and every element in the Donbass that should become a part of the Russian nation. So with what face are you saying all this from as far as the United States is concerned? That's number one. Having said that, I think, first of all, I have total faith in my government. I think you mentioned this last time also. And I'm glad that our utterances, yours and mine, and some very, very self-respecting, stable personalities who have been speaking on television in the last few days, they too have also explained this, that the Indian Army, we don't, first of all, discuss our options in public, right? We only look at a set of factors, nothing more than that, right? It's very, very clear that this situation does not demand a knee-jerk reaction. I'm surprised people are counting to say the Prime Minister Modi last in Uri did it in 10 days, and then in the case of Pulwama did it in 12 days, and this time he may be doing it in 10 to 14 days. I mean, this is ridiculous. Give Prime Minister Modi his space and give his planners the space. And I was quoting it in another program in the evening today, and I was saying, go back to 1971, the best example you have. What did the Field Marshal advise Prime Minister Indira Gandhi? She demanded the same thing. She demanded an immediate response. She said, this is a golden opportunity, 23rd of March. Just get in. How long will it take you to get into East Pakistan? And he gave her the whole story and told her very clearly, you want victory? Then you need time. You haven't given me money. You haven't given me the spares for tanks. You haven't given me the ammunition. I need so many more units. I don't want to run over the standing crops of Punjab. I don't want to do it at the time when the passes are open and the Chinese are breathing down my neck. I don't want to do it in a season in which crisscrossing of my forces from the east to the west will be hampered by floods in the middle of India. He said, he gave all the factors to her very clearly. And she took the decision to say, okay, take your time. And the window was 9 months. Right? So pragmatic governments are not pressured like this to say, do it now. I was surprised to see some statements this morning coming out from certain political circles that they're putting the pressure on the government to ask, when are you doing it? With what will you do it, and what will you do, and when will you do it? I mean, which government are you talking to? Which government is going to give you a response like that? Right? So I think we should express an element of maturity here to say that we are dealing with a very, very serious situation. Please don't treat it in this manner of an entertainment that we are just responding. there is going to be loss of lives, there's going to be a lot of blood and gore, there's going to be a lot of destruction when it comes down to this. And Pakistan had better realize it too, that they are going to be subjected to it in a very big way. Can they last out? Can they absorb it? Do they have the economy? Do they have the manpower? Do they have the ammunition? Only time will tell.
I agree, sir, completely that we need to be responsible and we need to be patient, because political rhetoric apart, sir, this is a democracy and all politicians need to stand behind the Prime Minister and the government and let them take a call on the issue. So we have seen that after Uri, a surgical strike, after Balakot, an air strike, and after a while things like low, and then these people come back. So do you, sir, feel that rather than resorting to a hasty reaction, should we look to keep Pakistan on the edge, let them keep waiting, and look for a more sustained and maybe more multi-dimensional response this time around? Sir, first question. And the second part, sir, if left to you, what would these dimensions be, if you can share it with us?
You see, I would say 2016 to 2025, we are moving up notches in a calibrated way. 2016 was surgical strikes, where we only virtually a demonstration. We went in, crossed the line of control, raided certain terrorist not camps, but concentration of terrorists, etc., in a distance of about 2 to 3 kilometers or whatever it was. The next time we used air power, and air power is something which can escalate a situation. I thought it was a very risky, very, very difficult decision, but the decision was taken. And it led to whatever it led to in Balakot, and we achieved what we had. These were never intended as deterrents. These were essentially strategic messages to say, don't think we cannot respond. We can respond too, right? And the strategic level. This time, Pakistan has felt that once again below the threshold of total war, they can still calibrate and carry out this kind of action. And they seem to have crossed the Rubicon. They may still have been able to remain within if they had targeted a military facility, a convoy, or a camp or something like that with a fidain. But having targeted innocent tourists, 26, 27, 28 of them, I mean, it's something which no nation can tolerate. And this was absolutely a copycat event of October the 7th, what the Hamas did to us, to the Israelis. This was something on a smaller scale. They obviously couldn't find such a big gathering. They could have actually done it on a bigger scale, because I think they had the manpower. And if they wished to, they could have done it on a perhaps larger scale. But yet this was sufficient. It was sufficient to make us go over the edge and make us respond. Now, the response so far in 2016 and 2019 was only military, right? But this is hybrid. This war is hybrid. And I think I have been the one person who for the last 15 years has been trying to explain over media to many people, wherever I speak, that hybrid is not fought by conventional. Hybrid is always fought by hybrid. It means that all of government approach, as we have always said, every department of government is at war. So we have to use diplomacy. We have to use psychological warfare. We have to use economic warfare. We have to use military strategy alongside it, right? All these things will have to get combined together. We will have to use coercion such as the Indus Water Treaty, which is part of diplomacy also and part of coercive tactics also. These are the kind of things that we will have to use combined together. Now, it has to be sustained over a period of time. It shouldn't happen that everything becomes hunky-dory overnight suddenly and there is a ceasefire and after that everyone goes back to the barracks to say things are okay now. No, we have to do it over a period of time to hurt Pakistan over a period of time, right? And diplomatically to isolate them around the world. To tell the right-thinking democratic countries in a region such as Europe, for example, the Gulf itself, Southeast Asia, to tell them which country in the world does profiling for terrorist acts in this manner, and it's supported by the government. On top of that, supported by the government, supported by the legislators of that under that government. We have to, you see, so it has to be a multidirectional, multidimensional approach sustained over a period of time. I think we need to find the right people to do it, in the sense the leadership is all there. We are very happy to see that we have just formed, reformed the the NSCB as such, the National Security Council Board as such, and hopefully you'll get some more high quality advice being given out to the government, to the NSA, who are all very, very competent people, right? But I think by and large, everyone in India now understands, among the top leadership, that this cannot be a one-off event to hurt Pakistan, to give them a prick and say, we are also capable of delivering this. It has to be sustained and over a period of time, and we have to take it to the international community. One last word on this. I'm glad that Pakistan has said that they are withdrawing from the Shimla agreement. Once Pakistan withdraws from the Shimla agreement, we too have nothing to do with it, and we can internationalize it as much as we wish to. No longer are we committed to following the bilateral aspect which was enshrined in the Shimla agreement.
So on that note, I would like to conclude with the final word from my side, that to sum up, that we need to keep Pakistan on the tenterhooks, and when the time comes, hit hard. Thank you so much. As usual, sir, thank you so much for sparing time for us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and Jai Hind to all our viewers. Please keep watching this program. Mayank Singh Saab is going from strength to strength. His understanding of strategic affairs is going absolutely places, and we are very, very proud of him. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.